And they both love her, and she loves both of them. And so she goes with, of course, the victor. Hello, you beautiful haunted romantics. Welcome back. It's Feb-Brew-Fairy 2025. We got day 2, and I had such a grand time experimenting with this paper. And I've got to show it to you again. This is again from the company Leather Village, and this was a gift to me. And I've had it for, I think, 3 years. And I save all these things, and I never know when they're going to come in handy. But now I'm really getting into this. I'm really starting to see all the dimensions of it. Just look at the landscape on this. It looks like a desert of dunes. I don't know what that thing is, but yeah, isn't this just gorgeous? I absolutely love this. You can just feel it's like somewhere between paper and fabric. It's gorgeous. I cannot wait to use this. So had to share that. Leather Village. You can get them, I think you can get a beautiful, nice box like this. I think on Amazon. I believe they have their own site too. First of all, I found a challenge from Brett Manning, who's an awesome artist on IG. You got to find her. She's brilliant with all her stuff. But every year she does a prompt, 13 prompts for the first 13 days of February. It's called Faebruary. So she's doing more or less the Fae, but she goes into other kinds of folklore, fairy lore, mythology. And the first prompt is the Holly King. And some of you may vaguely remember a couple years ago, I did the Oak King, who is in some stories, he's the brother of the Holly King. They're two kings, and they both rule the world at different times of the year. And they do battle annually, and it's kind of confusing. One of them comes to power, depending on how you look at it, at the equinox or the solstice. Different cultures or different versions of the story say different things. Others say they come to power during the solstice and are vanquished at the equinox. I think the one that makes the most sense to me is where they pretty much do battle on the equinox, and then the winner attains his highest power at the solstice. So, for instance, Oak King is ruling. He's got the light, he's got the summer, and the days are the brightest and longest. And it's all about fertility and vibrance and all those fun summer activities. And then when the equinox comes along, he is challenged for the throne by his brother, the Holly King, who has come to challenging power, and they do battle and they fight. The Holly King wins. The days get darker. They get shorter. The nights get longer. He is austere. He is winter. He rules almost harsh. He brings harsh lessons, but he also brings revelry, because you get a lot of those festivals at that time. And then in the solstice, Yule, he has his full power. And meanwhile, the Oak King is being reborn. He's like a child, and then he's growing rapidly to become a challenger during the spring equinox. And then he will do battle. He'll be victorious. He will rule the world again in the summer, and the cycle plays out. I had found a really cool little interpretation, kind of an offshoot of the pagan side, with Wicca. And it briefly, because they acknowledge the Oak and Holly Kings as well. But I think one of the cool things, and of course I love it being a haunted romantic like many of you, it is the goddess in the Wiccan culture that they are actually fighting over. And they both love her, and she loves both of them. And so she goes with, of course, the victor, and maybe laments the loss of her paramour. And I just think that makes it even more juicy. And Anyway, so I did the Oak King, which was really fun, and I was doing something really complicated, and I want to just go real simple with this one and just have some fun with the Holly King. Because the Oak King, it was great, it was beautiful, but I foresee I'm going to just probably revisit both of them throughout Ghost in the Gaslight. Ghost in the Gaslight has many recurring characters. Anyways, let's get into it. Day 2, we've got a lot of these to go, so yeah, let's see what happens. And I'm going to be, of course, painting with coffee stains. I went into that in the last video. This is still that coffee. Oh my goodness. It smells so good. And I've got my Sumi brush. I'm actually going to be going pretty heavy with the fountain pen on this one. I want to do basically a fountain sketch. I'll probably be working with the pencil as well. Well, I will be. It remains to be seen which one I do more of. Sometimes this happens kind of equally, but I really wanted to do a little more of the drawing. I don't have as much time today, so I just want to have fun and just really flesh things out. I don't really foresee being able to let the coffee take its time because that can take hours and hours and hours. So yeah, well, all right, here we go. And another adventure begins here, another sketching adventure. What you're going to see here, it's kind of interesting. I'm working on the hand holding this spear that the Holly King has. And I'm going to work on it for a little while, but I am going to decide that I have different use for the hand and a different place for the spear. So while that's happening, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the development of this blog and how it's going. And I was thinking of a word that I wanted to invoke, like an intention, as I keep experimenting and learning this vlog, a challenge. And I think I found the word. It's generosity. I want to be generous with what I can do. I want to be generous with my time, with my output, with my creativity, with the strategies, with the ideas, with my thoughts, with maybe even philosophies, who knows? But I really want to lean in, and I feel like that has been serving me well. I'm not saying I'm the master of it, but I've noticed sometimes where I've been doing it. And that's where it has really helped. And I want to continue to find the best ways that I can bring myself to this. And when I went to first make this recording in the booth, and I thought, well, what do I want to talk about in terms of this sketch? You know, this was a little simpler sketch of the Holly King, and it was a lot of fun to do, but it was kind of so quick, and I hadn't written a story. I mean, this is kind of a new thing for me with the vlog, where sometimes I'll just be sketching or making my painting, what have you, and I'm not necessarily thinking of a story. I'm just trying to get the content made so that the videos get made, and I focus on how I can get that little bit that makes each video its own thing. So sometimes adding a new story to all of them is a lot. That's part of why this is a vlog, so it doesn't have to be full-on writing, because I've tried that and it's very tough to sustain, and I figured the number one goal was to get this made. You can see I'm kind of wrestling with what I want this to be, the story. But as you can see, his hand now has moved to kind of tracing her cheek. And she had that look already
At first I thought it was just because of his presence, and I thought, no, wait a minute. He's got this beautiful woman right here. Why is he holding his weapon? You know? His closest hand to her face should be touching her face. And that is, I do like to work with reference a lot, but there is something to be said for, if you're a writer and an artist, when you have a scene in mind and it's not taking cues from a reference, you are writing the story of that scene. This is something I learned in filmmaking. A shot, it can be a quick shot of someone running, but that shot has a story that you're telling. What is this shot about? What is this scene about? Who is he running from? Where is he going? All of that. And I think that's part of why I don't usually do the, I guess, more iconic type drawing. I do more the narrative style, and I love to tell stories. Anyway, as I was thinking of what to do, what to talk about, I was thinking about the legends, the myths of the Holly King and the Oak King. Though, when I look them up, several people say that it's not really a complete feeling legend like it feels now until scholars of the 19th century actually kind of compile a bunch of stuff together. But before that, it feels very much like an oft-practiced ritual or pagan religion. But it seems, I could be wrong, but several sources I was finding were saying that it's actually just in the last couple centuries. But it's a wonderful story, I think, because it links to the seasons. And I love things that link us up with our sense of time and the patterns in the world. And I decided I would just maybe write a little story. I thought, hey, what if I do a few paragraphs? Or maybe a page or something, or maybe a page and a half. And so I took out my legal pad and I started writing. And I kept writing and kept writing. And it was supposed to be a couple paragraphs. It went to about 4 pages. And that was really exciting. I think one of the things that helped was I did the legal pad, and I can't remember the last time I wrote a story on paper. But something about taking the pen and I just couldn't stop writing. It did help that I had been researching the legend a little. I've also done a story a couple years ago of the Oak King. It might be kind of fun to read them both sometime on a live or a different video. Also, I write the OSP every morning, the one shitty page. And that has really kind of helped getting the writing into my wrist. And there was something about, it was almost non-eventful when I took out the legal pad and just started writing. It was like my mind was going straight through the pen, through my fingertips, all the muscles in my hands, and my pen was just gliding across the page as though it were a ship catching the wind on the Pacific, and the story just kept coming. And I thought initially part of what has kept me away from doing that is I thought I would just be making tons and tons of mistakes. Because I'm so used to typing and, I get out my writing app or my note-taking app, and I love that I can just correct things and move things around, copy, paste, what have you, and I always thought, hey, if I go ahead and do the freehand writing, all that goes away, and I'm going to have to arrange stuff later. I'm going to have to transcribe and blah blah blah. I was always making it worse and worse and worse. And it's wild how you can really surprise yourself after years and years of doing this stuff. A simple thing like not writing your stories on paper, the devil can really trick you. We're in this age of of tech and all these nuances of how it helps us reinvent kind of tactile things or analog practices. And before you know it, you get used to creating by depending on some of those things. And ironically, I'm looking at all this AI and going, man, I am so glad that I kept up all the drawing and painting and all of that. Because I feel the challenge. I feel the battle testing constantly of working with actual materials, not doing a prompt and telling the machine how to create this, that, the other thing. I am toughened. I am weathered. And I get fulfillment. That's the most important thing out of creating these images. I see there are some exciting aspects of AI where, I'm but a humble artist and always trying to make my way through things. And, I always thought maybe I get to a certain level and I can perhaps employ people to, do outreach or marketing or something. But, I can't deny that perhaps I'm meant to look into AI from the point of marketing or something like that, So I'm always just looking at this amazing, fast-changing world that we're in, and it's just getting exponentially faster. And there are the things that we should all choose to be stubborn about, and then there are the things that maybe we need the good sense to take another look at and see how it can benefit us. And I think it's almost like a person's palate in wine. It's different for everybody. What is going to be beneficial and what isn't. And I find that exciting too. I find it all part of this amazing human experience. And can I just say, I just love that moment between the end of the penciling and the beginning of the dipping fountain pen as it just starts to give another dimension to a drawing. I love this moment. It's just it's so full of possibility. And there are many stages like this through a piece. Even if it's a little sketch like this. But I just love this. And just moving his hand has just completely changed the feel of the story here. Because originally I was going for a more austere type of Holly King. I see the Holly King as bringing a type of stoicism or a strength. He comes into the world and it's vibrant, it's full of summer and color and mating season, and there's sunlight everywhere, and it's warm, and everyone can lounge in the sun and have a great time. And I feel like once the colder time comes in, order returns. And I think that's really important. I myself have a very disciplined side. I have a very dreaming, passionate side, but I also have a side that, as I get older, just keeps recognizing the beauty of control and discipline. And so I think initially I was seeing the Holly King with his spear, and it's in the cold time of year, and it's kind of like he is stalwart that way, and she is there with him and kind of recognizing this. Maybe she feels safe with it. Maybe it's part of why she loves him or something. But there was a part of me that just felt his attention is not putting too much effort. And I want it to be something where he is strong, and you can feel that, but I want you to feel what he feels for her. This actually reminds me of a recent interview I saw. Tony Robbins was on, I think it was the PBD podcast, but he just has this beautiful, I don't know if I want to say philosophy, because I don't know if it's his or if it's something that he found somewhere else. I totally want to look into it more. But he was saying the number one key to success, what he teaches his kids and what he teaches people around the world, is pattern recognition. And then he asks, do you know how we began to build civilization? I mean, it's not his exact words, as a race. Like, what was the number one thing? What was the number one pattern recognition that we learned as a race? And PBD is pretty much stumped there. He's trying to come up with things. And then Tony Robbins says, seasons. Once we figured out seasons, we stopped desperately trying to move everywhere and try to find a warmer place, any warmer place, trying to beat the cold, trying to get food. Once we understood that a warm time was going to come back to the same area, we started to learn when to plant plants. We started to learn when to hunt, And the important thing to understand is to know where you are in the year. Because if you can figure that out, then you will be able to reap the reward. If you do the right thing at the wrong time, you don't get the reward. And then it gets pretty profound when he starts talking about learning the seasons in your life. Understand where you are in your life. And the seasons, he even zoomed out and looked in history too. But he said empires also follow this rule. Civilizations do. And they tend to go in periods of about 18 to 20 years. And you can apply that back to a person's life. From your age of 18 to 20, you're pretty much in the springtime. And he goes in much more detailed of all the things that make that so that it's your springtime. Because people can say, but yeah, what if you had this hardship or that hardship? But the point is about recognizing where you are in your life. What season are you? And the second season of summer is from about 22 to 42, and that's pretty much the power period. And that is where you are taking everything you've been learning and you're starting to apply it, and you start thinking, oh, I can do a lot here. And you kind of have this almost choleric idea of what you can do. And then you start to learn that it's a lot harder, and some things you can't do, and you got to reel it back in a little. I was hearing this, I was like, oh my God, yes, exactly. And I look back at that time, for instance, and I think, wow, that was definitely my power period. Or that was definitely when I bit off more than I could chew. And these days, I mean, I'm basically just out of the summer period and I'm in the fall period. And I'm recognizing how much smarter I am with the things that I have, the opportunities that I have, the ways that I am going at things, I think that the discipline that I use to conduct myself and how to use my time and output. And I think that I have definitely been able to do much more with much less. I think back to where I was in the summer of my life, in LA or in New York. And I go, man, if I had some of this knowledge, and I look back on that, like, why was I making that a big deal? Or, I could have this, that, the other thing. And I always feared having that feeling, but now I look at it and I smile. I just think it's so wonderful to be here and have these thoughts. And he also says, if you do this right, then you're going to be smarter and enjoying this a bit more. By the way, I added a lot of ivy there to the Holly King. And that's partly because ivy is a symbol of the Holly King and pine cones. And of course, holly, because they can be found sometimes in the winter months. And now we bring the coffee. I apologize that I accidentally had this on the fastest time lapse. So, I had to basically slow it down because I wanted to get more of an experience of the coffee. It didn't make sense to just all that time for pencil and ink. I'm not using that much coffee, so this isn't going to be, it's maybe going to be 2 minutes or something, but that said, I do honestly love the strange, choppy slow motion when you have to take something that was pre-recorded at the fastest setting and you bring it down and it doesn't have all the frames. So when you slow it down, that shows. And it's almost like this claymation, stop animation feel. But yeah, I'm using one layer of coffee here, and it's very dark. If I wanted to layer more coffee, I'd make a thinner one and do that first. But I kind of want to just, point and shoot and go. And sometimes I feel I get so into the lengthy staining part of coffee art, and I feel like sometimes I'm losing out on the story and I'm just getting way too into the medium. And sometimes, I love where that takes me too, but I don't do enough of this where I just go in and do something quick. And last year I did some very just beautiful, belabored coffee paintings. And I really went in there with gouache as well. That was an exciting experiment. But then I just felt like there was something, it was almost like I was doing it for its sake, and I just wanted something a little more exciting to share with everyone. And this year, I think, after going through all the different trials of all the different art challenges of 2024, I realized it was time for a vlog. And this way I could just kind of share more of my experiences when I'm making all these pieces, because I'm always doing something or other. And even though I'm pretty prolific sharing this and this wonderful opportunity of all these different social medias that I can do it, at the same time, there are all these little moments that just go unnoticed unless I remember to share that in my writing or something. So this was really fun. I had a loose idea that I was going to use some red for the holly berries, but I just didn't know how that was going to go with the kind of warm golden brown of the coffee. But as soon as I put the brush in that red paint, it was like my whole body just relaxed, like all the muscles just calmed down. And I realized, yeah, I was getting kind of tense about it. Because this one was like, I needed to make the Holly King, I needed to get the first Faebruary done. And there wasn't too much time. And I thought, you know what? There's been so many times where I have just let the deadline inform the creativity. And sometimes what that means is you just got to go do it and just see what you're made of and see what happens. And I just love the ways that this little sketch just developed. And the Oak King was much more complicated in terms of the way that I worked on the coffee stains. And I thought that when I would do the Holly King, it would be like a complementary kind of twin to that piece. Because that one, the Oak King, is with the goddess as well, whom they do their annual battle with to win over. And I see it as it's not just a soap opera, it's that she also represents the challenge. She represents the turn of destiny that each man has to bring order, bring his kind of order to the place. So what happens is the Holly King has just defeated the Oak King, and now he is with the goddess, and he defeated him at the autumn equinox, and now he will reign for winter. The nights will be longer. The world will respect his power. Things will grow cold, austere. People will need to be more disciplined. It's a very important part of life. Again, know where you are in your life. So 60 on to 80 or 100 or however far you're going, that's your winter period. And if you play your cards right, that is the best period. That is when you're a respected elder and you can enjoy the little things in life. In many ways, you get to be a child again. You get to rediscover childhood, but with your unique consciousness. And so winter's a beautiful thing. And about to wrap this up and go to the signature. But I just wanted to say there's just been so much value in all the ancillary challenges that come with making a consistent vlog. And yeah, this yielded a lot of gifts. So at some point, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with that story that I wrote on that legal pad. It's, it's 4 pages. It's like, I think it's like moderate length for me now. It may end up on the Substack. Who knows? It might end up here. We'll see. It might be a good episode for Often Haunted. But I love when you surprise yourself. So this was just meant to be a little coffee sketch and see what comes out of it. A whole other story. And I hope you got some value from this video. And yeah, the Holly King has entered Ghost in the Gaslight. Cheers. Slàinte.
And there we have the Holly King. I really wanted to do kind of like a quick sketch with a pen. I sometimes really belabor things, and I really wanted to just get into leaving things alone, be a little messy and fun, just tell the story and get out. Don't be too insecure about the shadows and everything. Not that I'm always like insecure, but I really wanted to just have fun and let them be. And so we have the Holly King and we have the goddess there, and he is decked out in ivy and holly, and I put red in there. I put some holly berries, and I thought that was kind of the touch where I really enjoyed this little sketch. Yeah, we are coming into spring in just a couple months, but this is always fun getting into these fairy traditions and the lore. And I think there is value to marking the seasons and times and just getting into all those interesting stories. I think they bring things out in us. I feel kind of connected as I put pen to paper. I really kind of let my pen do most of the storytelling here. I think when you're doing kind of one layer of coffee, sometimes that is the way to go. This was surprisingly fun, and I got a real thrill when I just put the holly berries in there just with some pen, and didn't really feel the need to do much more than that. So it's a nice little sketch, I think. Anyways, thanks for being here, and be sure to give a like and hit that subscribe button, and make sure that you're signed up to the Inbox Curiosities if you want to be part of the email list, which is a lot of fun. And also, I'm on Substack. Make sure that you join there, because my long form stories come out and I put a lot of effort into those. They're really fun. You get to enjoy the art as well. Anyways, I'm Saul, and this is Feb-Brew-Fairy 25. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.